we already have passports. We're also going to participate in... I'm Joe.
I'm Josh.
You got questions?
You're feeling grounded.
Welcome to Feeling Grounded with your hosts, Josh and Joe.
Yeah, the watchers and listeners don't know, but that took many takes to accomplish.
Yeah. Will there be bloopers? I don't know.
Yeah, it probably will be. I hope so. So the year challenge, Joe, you failed it.
Yeah, I caved. But it wasn't a split decision. I had thought about it for a good 6-7 days. I think it's good to reflect and not make any impulsive decisions. Sure. But one of my main reasons for taking, you're wearing a mask, and like we said before, it kind of like
gets nasty.
Yeah, it gets kind of nasty with that. So I'm gonna wait until masks are not exactly a thing anymore, because it might return. It might in the future, but
now the real question is, when you have a lengthy beard, are you gonna put any like ornaments or glitter or Viking beads in it?
I've done that. I've done that before. Really? When there was Christmas time, like years and years ago, I kind of bejeweled it a little bit just to see what would happen.
Bejeweled, bedazzled.
Bedazzled.
You bedazzled. Nice. Yeah.
It was all blue and pink and silver.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
I experimented with colors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. I feel like this first segment is always like the status of our beards.
Yeah, no more yeared challenge.
Yeah, no more yeared challenge. Now it's just the our beard.
I mean, it's us basically looking at each other, because this is the first time we've seen each other in a whole week.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, exactly. Now I'm gonna point out, yes, I am in a closet. I will say that. I will admit that. My internet was bad in my office today, so I had to move into a closet further down the hall because the Wi-Fi router is in the room next to me.
We wouldn't have known had we both put like some type of background, but sometimes those backgrounds they never actually work. A Zoom background,
they look a little fuzzy around your face and the edges of your body, and it's weird. So
yeah, CGI has not really caught up to it. We can afford it in movies, but not for regular us plebs.
Us plebs. That's a good way to put it. I had one. I remember they have it on Skype now too, and I was Skyping somebody, and I put a cheeseburger in the background, and now every time that I log in, it's immediately a cheeseburger. I can't. The default now is just a giant cheeseburger.
I've done the Office background.
Oh, really? Like, and which one? Which one? Like
where Stanley's in the background and he's just working.
Like the talking heads, like they're in the conference room, and there's a wow, that's great.
It's most of the time it hasn't worked out, but for certain meetings, I've managed to make it work. But sometimes I've seen like other fails. For instance, one person had a plant background.
Mm-hmm.
And a plant background, like there were a couple plants, and the woman's head was like superimposed into the so her head literally was a green like ficus.
That's awesome. My favorite one is the one that went viral was the potato face. Did you see that one? She was like the CEO or manager or something, like the head of a company or store or something. And she was doing Zoom meetings, during quarantine, and she had a potato filter, and her eyes and her mouth was superimposed on a potato.
I have to find this right now.
She couldn't shut it off.
I must find this now.
Yeah, so she just did this like really serious like budgetary meeting that was like her
potato Zoom filter.
Yeah, that's the one.
How does a person put in a potato?
I don't know.
You must be really into her gardening.
Gardening. Gardening. Yeah. Is that so silly? That's the one. That's the one.
Does she
right there.
realize that she's a background of a potato now and didn't opt to change it? Just accepted it?
I think she couldn't figure it out, or it, like, wasn't working, so she just left it.
I love no. Here's what I'm also going to see. Remember how we talked about clickbait titles? I'm just noticing this now. BuzzFeed, the most
Oh.
truthful news ever.
This woman turned herself into a potato.
Oh yes.
With like her face like,
Love it.
It's time for Happy Crappy.
All right, Joe. Do you want to do some happy crappies now?
yeah. Let's go with let's do a happy first. Change it up a little bit.
Oh,
We're
we're
not tied down by
Yeah.
starting crappies first,
that's true.
unless you're feeling it. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Good.
Okay. Happy, just like you last week. You had spring break. I'm
Mhm.
having some break time for right now. I got a week off of work.
Nice.
So I have no idea what I'm going to do. Maybe spend some time with the fam.
You should do a lot of editing and make some really cool thumbnails and posts on Instagram.
It doesn't take too long. It does not take too long, and that probably is the most fun.
And that's good. That's good.
For instance, the one that we recently did with the movie theater guy, we had that bow tie guy who was like, "I love the MCU," and we're just
It's like, that was a good one.
that was a good one.
I appreciated that.
Adobe has served us well.
So let's plug this in right now. If you like our podcast, follow us on Feeling Grounded Podcast on Instagram, and then subscribe to this channel, Feeling Grounded Podcast on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. And let us know. Leave some comments. So the goal of this was to have questions and answers and stuff like that. So if you have a question for us, it could be like the most ridiculous question ever. I don't
About
even care.
us or about something in general. We will
Literally
look it up.
anything. Put it in the comment section, and then we will answer it in a segment as soon as we get more questions.
It could be on Insta or it could be on YouTube. We have
So,
multiple platforms,
yeah.
and we're going to expand. This is going to be a movement.
So if you're watching right now, pause the video, click on Joe's face or my face, pause it, and leave a comment asking us a question.
About anything.
All right, cool.
Anything.
So yeah, do you have any plans for your break, Joe? Besides, you want to see family?
I do want to see family. Hopefully see some niece again. She was great.
Oh,
But
awesome.
will I do anything else? I have nothing planned yet. I think maybe have some me time. Probably get some hiking in the way, get some fresh air, because during this time, when you work so much and you're tied down by a lot of obligations, you forget to have a lot of fresh air.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And it's so important. Hiking is one of the best things. I love hiking.
Yeah. All right. What about your happy?
My happies? Well, I have two happies for you today.
Give it to me.
My first one, I got a really great haircut and beard trim at this
So why are
Italian
you
place.
wearing a hat?
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. I was lazy today and I didn't want to do my hair. But yeah, I won't show it because my hair is atrocious.
I'll see you next week.
I will normally, Joe, if you remember, I used to cut my own hair. That was my whole thing. I would trim my own beard, I would cut my own hair with clippers, scissors, the whole thing.
Mhm.
I might have mentioned this on the first episode, but since college, that's what I've always done. I always know what I like, so I said, well, I could just do it myself. So I would, and it was good. It's okay. But this is my first time going back to a barbershop in years probably. And so, what morning was it? Wednesday morning. I looked up on the interwebs, what's a close barbershop that has the best ratings. I looked it up and I went at opening, as soon as it opened, and it was a really interesting experience because everyone in there was very, very Italian, like off the boat Italian. Everyone in there was talking in Italian, and someone went up to me as soon as I walked in and motioned something to me and was speaking in Italian. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Italian.
Sorry, I don't speak Italian.
I'm very much white. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying to me right now. I was so awkward and uncomfortable in that setting. But he was motioning for me to go to sit. And I did. And this guy was speaking Italian the whole time. And I was like, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't know Italian. I wish I did. But he
No
gave me
English, nothing.
no English.
Okay.
I mean, it was crazy. But he gave me the best darn haircut I had ever received. And he also did my beard. I've never gotten my beard cut at one of these places before. And he did it. And he trimmed it. And it's like so nice. He did such a good job. And so I gave him a big tip. And then I paid them. And then I left.
Did you notice anything about like the way he did it compared to other people who have cut your hair or beard?
He did everything with clippers. And the way he used it was kind of neat. Especially with the beard. Because I've never gotten like right here trimmed before, like a separation between my lip and my mustache. I've never done that. I've always just like would cut it to my lip, but like for him to like, I don't know. And he
Went further
detailed,
up? Okay.
yeah. So there's a little bit more space here, which I've never really had before. And then he just really detailed with like a clippers again, just kind of detailed here, and like he cut like a little spot here, and he did my neck, and yeah, so he did a really good job. And he used a 0 clipper, and he just had a comb, and he did it that way. And I never done. I always do guards. I was like a 4 or 3.
Yeah.
So it was nuts. And he did a really good job.
Huh.
But I was very uncomfortable the whole time because I couldn't. I felt so out of place. and people came in, and they were speaking in Italian. I don't know if this is like customers.
Any people speak English other than you?
No. I was so uncomfortable.
We must go together. We have to go.
We have to experience this. We have to experience. I mean, after a while,
we need to learn Italian. Okay, so people in the comments, please give us something Italian that we can say, like a conversation starters, anything.
Yeah, so if you know Italian, leave us some good advice. But like literally, I went home and like looked up, how do I say thanks for the good haircut in Italian? And I like learned. I tried to.
After you went?
After I went home and was like, maybe I can learn Italian and speak to him next time.
Duolingo or Babbel, whatever they use.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was my first one. A really darn good haircut and the beard trim. And my second one was I had some really good chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh man.
Blue Bunny, super chunk. The chocolate chips were massive, and there's so much cookie dough in it. It was the best thing ever.
That must have been heaven, man. I'm going shopping. I'm going shopping today, and you may have just convinced me.
Blue Bunny, super chunk, chocolate chip cookie dough. Sponsor us.
Yeah, I could go for that, please.
Yeah, man, 100%.
I'll tag you in Instagram.
Yeah. Those are my happies. So, what's your crappie, Joe? Do you have a crappie?
Oh boy. Okay, so here we go. This isn't really, it's going to be kind of anticlimactic, but it's pretty climactic for me. Here we go.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so last night, I fell asleep on the couch.
Ooh.
And I don't normally do that, but I feel like when it's hotter outside, it gets hotter in the, the place of living, it just makes you feel just a little bit more lazy, and you don't want to get up. So I preferred last night to go to sleep, of course, in my bed like any normal person would, but I just couldn't get up. Couldn't get up from, I was watching This Is Spinal Tap.
Nice.
I don't know. I just felt like it. I had never seen the movie before, and it was around 11 o'clock at night. I was only up for about 20 minutes, and it's British humor, and that requires a lot of attention since we're not exactly used to it, here in the US of A. But I did not get out of my position on this couch, and because the walk felt incredibly long, and I knew that going in, and so I just fell asleep and woke up 6 o'clock in the morning in just a fetal position.
Were you sore at all? Did you have any
No, it's a pretty firm couch, and I was surprised.
Oh, very good, very good. Did you watch the whole Spinal Tap, or did you fall asleep while you were watching it?
Well, here's a caveat here. So I did technically watch it, but 20 minutes in,
you lost it.
So I did. So it was playing, but
I've been there. Sometimes it's nice though. I'll admit, I like sleeping on couches. They can be, especially if it's a nice, comfortable couch, and you find that right position. It's really nice.
It was just so humid, and I could have I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
feel
want to be in that position when it was
Right.
humid. Even though I like sleeping in warmth, it was just a different type of warmth.
Been there. I always think about, whenever we talk, I always think about our apartment experience together. And I had a moment like that where I fell asleep on that nice blue couch. I don't know whose couch that was, if it was like Zach's or yours,
We
or
had the opportunity to take that. Somebody did.
it was really comfy.
It
I liked
was the best
Wasn't
couch
it
ever.
nice?
It was so good.
Yeah, and I remember on a break, I was like the last person to leave the house to go back home. And I think it was during winter break. And I was watching just YouTube videos and I fell asleep and it wasn't nice. And I remember I bought Domino's. I had like 4 slices of Domino's pizza and then I fell asleep on the couch.
And nobody was there?
Nobody was there. It was just me.
Is
Yeah.
this spring break or
It was winter break.
Okay,
Yeah. I remember I had to stay because I was working for the church. So I had to stay like through most of the holiday breaks.
At that point, were you working at Staples still?
I was, yeah, I was. I quit that job in January, so this was December. So it was like just right before I quit.
Oh,
That
man.
was tough, man.
That job tired you out.
That was not fun. Yeah, working part-time at Staples, part-time at the church, and then full-time student was not easy. But yeah, I was so tired because I would work evening, like night shifts, and come home at like 11, 12 p.m. or a.m., I guess.
Speaking of humidity, did we make that up? I don't know this at all. Did we make that apartment warm or cold? What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like everyone would argue over using the heat. I always said not to use it because of how much money the utilities were.
Good point.
But
because I remember
yes.
we split it up.
Yeah, I remember I wouldn't use the heat, and then until I was like cold in the house, and then
If I was ever cold, I would go up to, because I lived on the top floor, and it was always so hot, no matter what. And I was like,
"That's true,
fantastic. This is like an Eden."
Well, I told you about my story last time that our radiator was broken in my room, or my room. So then I was always hot in there, but the rest of the house, I think it was cold for the most part.
Yeah,
because no one wanted to turn heat on. Anyways, so so you're done with your crappy?
Oh, I'm done with my crappy.
So it was sleeping on the couch.
Yes.
Cool. Mine, it's a little more serious, so I'm sorry that this isn't really funny, but
no problem.
The twins, they got a little sick. They had a cold. They got a cold last night. So my son Eli, a 2-year-old, he got a cold, and then he felt better after like a day.
Okay.
And now the twins have it, and they didn't sleep well last night, so they cried so much, and it was heartbreaking. But they slept okay after they cried until like 10:30. But it's what it is. They felt a little better this morning. They had runny noses and whatever, but it's okay.
How did you feel?
I was tired, and it's the worst thing is hearing your children cry. That's like the worst feeling in the world. And the good Lord did that on purpose so that you would take care of them because of how awful the sound is, because you want to make it stop.
Yeah, because it sounds like they're literally being tortured.
Yeah.
Because they're so cold and achy.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's hard because you can't really make it stop when they're sick, because then they're mad that their nose is stuffy, and we try to ease them with a pacifier. They can't breathe because they can't breathe out their nose or their mouth. So then they get angrier, and it's just kind of this cycle. But but they fell asleep eventually, so we're good.
I remember that one time when I first met Eli years ago. Did we sang to him? We sang like Octopus's Garden when he was being like real stubborn.
Right. Remember that. Yeah,
and
he's a good kid.
And then he conked out. It was tremendous. I did not think it would work. I just had like something came over me.
Yeah. This is their first cold. This was their first cold.
I was going to ask about that. Is it the twins' first cold?
Yeah, their first like sick experience. So they're taking it relatively okay. I will say, like we were blessed with really good sleepers. Like Eli was such a good sleeper. He would, after like 3 months or so, he'd sleep 12 hours. And the twins started at 2 months. They started sleeping 12 hours. So it was
God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so we good.
Man, hopefully it'll be better this point around, because I could assume that they would feel that way, all angry and whatnot, because they never ever experienced that before. They literally,
Yeah, exactly. They don't know. They don't know
they
what's
probably
going
thought the
on.
world was ending. They probably thought the world was ending.
Yeah, because they don't have that logic or that like the development to really understand what's happening. So all they know is that they are feeling things that are not good, so they react because of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's time for the news.
All right, so what we wanted to talk about today, this is going to be the next contentious issue, in our opinion. I think the concept of vaccine passports. So basically, in order to travel or enter events, businesses, you might need this vaccine passport. And people that have opposed this, for example, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California, Republican, he basically said this is unacceptable in a free society. So I kind of wanted to get your initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Joe, can you explain to the people what a vaccine passport is, in case no one's heard of it before?
Yeah, sure. So these passports are basically providing proof of vaccination. You know, it's either going to be a digital certificate or possibly paper for non-tech savvy people, or maybe people that really don't have a smartphone, which I know there are some in this digital age. And then supporters, it can ease the transition. Supporters have said it can ease the transition back to daily life again, you know, upping confidence in doing so. And, you know, we talked a little bit about confidence in the first episode because a lot of people, touching back to that first episode, people don't really feel too confident about going outside, particularly older people. And this doesn't really have too much to do with stay-at-home orders. It's just their feelings regarding the virus.
Right. And this would help them, you know, feel better if they knew that more people were actually receiving the vaccination and could prove it.
Yep.
So yeah. So then I guess ultimately what it breaks down to is whether we think it's ethical to force individuals to have proof and to show it and to carry it around with them, you know. And that's hard to say. I think that, you know, you there's always those two sides, right? There's always the two sides that believe like, well, yeah, like, you know, the right thing to do is to hold this and to, you have to carry this with you, and the government should force it and legislate it so that you can prove that you were vaccinated, and if you were not, we know that you were not, so therefore whatever. And then there's the other side that says, well, we shouldn't be forcing anything on the American people. We should be making them do something, because that may, or, you know, may not be ethical to force them to act a certain way, to legislate. And if you don't do this, then there's going to be penalties, and you'll be fined, or you'll be, you know, you have to go to jail or whatever it is. So there's you know, two opinions. Now I always kind of lean more, because I'm more of a libertarian. I think that government shouldn't really tell us what to do, but I can see why we would do this. So my initial response is, well, you shouldn't be forced, but if it's the right thing to do, then you should just do it. You know, like kind of like an honor system.
Yeah.
Now I know that most people are liars, and well, not most people. I won't say that, but I could see there are a lot of people that would say, well, no, of course I took it, you know. But I feel like you should just leave it up to us. Like if I need to prove that I was vaccinated, like I can do that, you know.
Now, that's really interesting that you say that, because the situation that's happening right now, not sure if it'll change, but the government legally can require vaccination under, you know, there was a Supreme Court ruling, Jacobson v. Massachusetts, which upheld states' authority to enforce these vaccination laws.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that the Biden administration, they decided to leave it up to the private companies. Press Sec Jen Psaki, she said the government is not going to, nor will ever, support a system where Americans carry this credential. You know, this is something as a whole that I was kind of surprised about. In the wake of what happened last March, it seemed like people would go stir crazy over something like vaccine passports requiring them.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't think of them looking to, you know, allowing, you know, hands off kind of approach for this stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, well, we think about our traditional vaccination system, right? So the one that we already have now is like you receive your vaccines in order to like do certain things. So like,
Mhm.
to go to school, you have to prove that you've, received vaccination by law so that, you don't get people sick and whatever. And so how you do that is you just show your records. And now I don't think we need to show everyone our records,
Mhm.
but I think, yeah, I don't know, Joe. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? It's tricky. It's a hard thing to
It
walk,
is, and it's so new.
Mhm,
Now that you bring up like people going into school and they have to require some type of proof that their health is okay. You remember
mhm.
how like when we went to college, they required
It's the same
certain
thing. Yeah.
yeah, they require certain vaccinations that you get.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
TB
so
comes up.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm. Yeah. So I think there's something to that, and just including the concept of the COVID vaccine on these lists is something they can do, just to make it safer for everybody. But I think they wouldn't because they don't really see the effect on children. Like it's not really that big deal for kids.
yeah.
So I think that's probably why they wouldn't necessarily do that. Um, I don't know. I'm not really an expert on this stuff, so it's hard for me to kind of weigh in.
That's interesting that you mentioned that because it doesn't really affect kids too much. It affects more old people. Why do you think they're starting with old people and people affected in hospitals, such
Hmm.
as healthcare workers?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I guess the fear is that the kids would take it home and then give it to their, elderly family. So then they should, be jumping on the vaccine, which I think they have been. We're already up to, I think 30% have been
Are we now? I haven't kept
received
updated.
I think received the first vaccination was like 30%.
Just in the US?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think
Okay.
so. I think so. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
um, yeah, and then it was like 22% have received both shots, both doses. Um, I was gonna say something, I forgot.
Um, well, now that we just talked about the US, what seems to be happening right now is kind of the sort of opposite thing. In other parts of the world, like Japan, China, parts of Europe, South Korea also, seems like they're requiring or adopting some type of version of this passport. Um,
Mhm.
Israel, for example, they call them green passports. You have a QR code on your phone um, in order to enter public places, restaurants,
Wow.
malls. Even one example, Emirates Airlines,
Mhm.
they're going to be one of the first to use vaccination passports, and they go
That's so interesting.
and they go everywhere. They go to Russia, they go to Iran,
Mhm.
just to name a few, but I don't know other. I just looked at it a couple minutes ago.
Right. But this is so interesting because like why? Hmm. Because it's like saying like if I were to go somewhere and they needed to prove that I've had my chicken pox shot or like I've had my, polio shot, like
Hmm.
why do I need to prove that? Like, like it's just a normal thing that you should do and you should get and receive.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to prove that to people.
Hmm.
I don't know. It just feels kind of strange to me that I have to like prove. I don't know. Because like even if I had gotten it, I got it, and like to have the honor, I don't need to like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to get too heated on this, but
No. I think that's cool if we do, but considering that this is a new thing in the wake of a
mhm.
virus that just came up and affected the world a little over a year ago,
Yeah, we
it's a
just don't
fresh debate.
know how to respond to this stuff. Yeah, because it is so new and it's tough to deal with these scenarios because we don't really know what the correct response is.
Yeah, because on the one hand, you know, things that violate users' privacy. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Florida Governor DeSantis basically banned any concept of using um, these passports, basically saying it limits our freedoms, like we said
And yeah,
before.
and so that's kind of been our response as the country, right? So
Yeah,
we're looking at other countries that are doing it and saying, well,
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't do that, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's that makes sense because we don't need to do that.
yeah.
You can't force
Lastly,
me.
yeah, as such, lastly, this one thing I wanted to bring up, which I
Hmm.
just thought of. What if, say, we get herd immunity,
Mhm.
and we utilize these vaccine passports, which could make people feel more confident, right? It might provide users who use these vaccine passports a false sense of security,
Mm,
especially because now we're hearing of these new variants.
right.
People could still get sick because it might not
Yeah.
not be as effective as we say it is.
That's very true. That is true. So there's something to that as well. That maybe, yeah, because it brings people out and into the world again, and then maybe the science will say, hey, things don't work as well as we thought they did, and then all of a sudden everyone's getting sick because they're out and about again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to that too.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah. We don't have answers all the time, and sometimes we're not looking for them. We're essentially just a new medium for us to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. Discussion's everything to kind of come to realization of what to do in these circumstances, and how to handle it as citizens of the US of A, baby. Which means something.
It does.
All right. Is that all you wanted to talk about with this?
That's all I want. That's all I have to say about that.
I think it's interesting that like legally they can require vaccination. I guess I knew that always, but I never
Mhm.
never sat in with me because that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if we want to save the world from polio, then everyone should receive the polio vaccine.
Good point.
The future is inevitable, but let's travel back in time.
Yeah, so starting today, it's going to be for the day that it airs, the day that it drops. So,
Just every Wednesday.
yeah, today's April 14th. We're in future time. We're
We
literally
went through
traveling into the future.
You know what I just watched for the first time? On the Austin Powers movies.
What?
I've never seen them before. I've seen scenes from them, but
You watched 1, 2, and 3?
back to back to back, baby.
Oh man, it got worse, man. 3 sucks.
It's so bad.
1 and 2 are
They're really good, yeah. But the
yeah,
last one is-
baby.
yeah, baby. So that's what I was thinking when going through time when they went through the time machine. Do you remember
All for number 2.
Yeah, I think it's in 3 too. They both.
Speaking
have
of
the
number
time
2,
machine.
number 2,
Yeah,
Rob,
yeah.
Not Rob Lowe. Is it Rob Lowe?
Yeah. Rob Lowe when he's younger. Yeah.
Oh, Rob when he's younger, and then Robert Wagner.
Right.
Okay, now it makes more sense because Rob. Okay, they're both named Rob. I get it now. It took me a while.
All right. Anyways.
I would love to,
for the timeline.
I would love to talk
Austin
Austin
Powers.
Powers in the future
Yeah, we can do that. We'll do that in the future.
because I have never watched Goldmember either. So we'll make that entertainment at some point.
Sure.
Especially because there's going to be a new Austin Power. Maybe they've gone
Really?
back and forth, but there's no Vern Troyer, the tiny guy who played Mini Me anymore. He
Did he pass away? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that happens with people who have dwarfism.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Okay, so April 14th. What do we got for me, Joe?
Okay. So first thing I'm going to bring up is April 14th, 2000, turn of the century. We're in the digital age right now because the internet had been around for a little while at this point in time. Metallica files a lawsuit against Napster, which was a new phenomenon, had came out basically, took the world by storm, or the digital world by storm, in 99. So April 14th, 2000, this lawsuit basically leads the movement against file sharing programs such as Napster. We'll talk about Napster's impact in a little bit. The claim was in 2000, Napster encouraged users to copy songs without permission.
To steal it, yeah.
Yeah, it's stealing. And so Lars Ulrich,
it's hard to say.
I butchered it. He is the drummer of Metallica, for people who don't know much of metal bands. But he said that our music is being traded as a commodity rather than being sold as art. Encouraging privacy. Privacy. No, not privacy. Piracy.
Piracy.
Yeah. But But Napster, it was just the beginning of the end for them.
Hmm.
But Napster was the beginning for something totally new, that which we are living in.
Hmm.
Napster shut down their server after April. It shut down back in like July of 2001, so about a little over a year later. They reopened in September of 01, paying over $25 million in past and future
Damages and
yeah. Um, and the writing was on the wall already. So they were still a site, but they had to buy in order to share that music for people, because it was still out like in 2006 when I first started looking at this stuff.
Hmm.
But you had things like LimeWire.
LimeWire, yep.
And I remember LimeWire, you get all those viruses.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
bad.
Oh my gosh. But after what Napster did, music sales tumbled.
It really did. That kind of, yeah. And so that's why this whole thing was really looked very negatively, because people saw this as like an opportunity to share in the music and to listen to stuff and to have these copies and to, take advantage of this. And then of course, they weren't getting paid for it.
Yeah,
So
I can understand why
and I
people would
understand
want
that.
to share that music.
Hmm.
It's like you're sharing your CD with a friend or something like that, and then you make a copy, you burn the CD,
Hmm.
which no one would know, but when it's in the internet age, it's public.
Right. Yeah,
Still.
exactly. I didn't quite understand that at the time. So I remember when all this news came out, like I remember watching it on the news and kind of seeing this and remember the backlash that happened, um, where because it was such a different time, you know what I mean? Because like streaming and stuff like it was just kind of formulating this idea of listening to music online. And so then they had all these laws for the licensing and the copyright and all this stuff that wasn't really being utilized. And of course, they weren't getting paid for all of this, the sharing of all of their songs and all this. There's another band that did it too, Tool. They were really big on this
Tool.
too. And
Why
so they,
metal? Why metal bands? Why did they
I
speak
know,
this? I wonder.
they're probably more aggressive than other people,
Fair.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember when this happened. Yeah, the same with like LimeWire and Napster and like all this stuff got wrecked. And I remember as a kid, Windows Media Player. So this before like now it's just like how you can utilize the files you already have. It was kind of the same way. I remember as a kid, we would have it on our computer, the old ancient big giant fat computers. Um, and it was the same thing. You can look up any song you wanted and you can play and listen to anything. And you could even download it. Because before they really understood licensing and paying the artists and all this stuff. And I remember when the shift happens, when this lawsuit kind of occurred, it disappeared. Like you couldn't do that anymore. You couldn't listen to the songs, and they kind of had to like rethink their model to now buying and paying for the songs.
Yeah, when it took a tumble for these record businesses, their revenue, it's rising again now. Its peak, I think, was like in 1999, right before Napster really hit its stride. But I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Um,
And they do it right now, and it's funny because then they took a step back, like Metallica, Tool, like even the Beatles for a time, they weren't on any platform.
No,
they just went away because like, no, these things are bad. Like I'm not going to do it. We're not making enough money from it. Blah blah. But nowadays, everyone jumped back on it because they realize how much money is in these streaming services now. Stuff like Apple Music and Google Play Music and all this stuff.
Spotify, YouTube.
Spotify, I mean everything now. Everything. So everyone is back on it because they realize, oh, there is money to be made, through these companies.
It took about 15 years for them to realize this.
It did. But they, yeah, it's just funny how we see that kind of change, Yeah.
It's interesting how it's going to be in the next 15 years, what it could evolve into or devolve into, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot more people seem to be more fans of analog. I am too.
Yeah, I definitely. I am too. And there's something to be said about that. Vinyl, for example, is like really coming back, and I love vinyl. I love it. And I know it's so cliche and kind of hipsterish to say that, but I like it. I like it because there's a purity there that does get lost through streaming.
Yeah.
There's
nothing wrong with going back to analog. You see a lot more mainstream stores such as Barnes and Noble, Best Buy actually sharing these turntables now and selling them and selling vinyl records now.
Yeah, yeah, it's good, man. It's good. Yeah, I have a whole vinyl collection that I have now, which is fun. But yeah, so that's it. So that's the beginning of the end for the music, and then a rise again for these digital platforms. Awesome. All right. So what did you want to talk about next?
Give me
Want me to
one.
do it?
Yeah.
All right. So today, April 14th, 1912. Okay. Joe, have you ever heard about the Titanic before?
Yeah, kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, you may have heard about it. You know, there's this little ship, this little tragedy that occurred,
Little boat.
many years ago.
Little boat.
Little boat that just,
as Forrest Gump would say, I got a real big boat.
Yeah. So the freaking Titanic at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, 1912, it struck the iceberg. And then this happened. The whole thing with the Titanic happened, which is crazy. Crazy to think about. Crazy that this was the day. So if you remember the Titanic, right? It was created in, I don't know, 1910. It was like built, commissioned by this company who actually built three what they called Olympic class ships that they would use. Two of them were used for wartime battles and stuff like that, and then the one was used as just like a cruise line passenger or whatever for fun.
Right.
So there's three of them. I forget the name of the first one, but there's the Britannica, the Britannic, and the Titanic.
Okay.
Kind of a cool story between the two of them. So the Titanic on April 10th made its maiden voyage to leaving Southampton, United Kingdom, England, to eventually to New York City. It was going to stop once in Canada and then end there. And then after 4 days on the Atlantic, something happened.
Could we see like a map of this?
Yes, Joe. I would love to show you.
Oh shoot, you have it? Okay.
I have it. Yeah,
bring it up.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. So this is the voyage of the Titanic. Okay. Bam. So you see, started in Southampton. Okay. And it kind of made a stop in Cobb, Ireland. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm assuming it's just Cobb. Before continuing through the Atlantic Ocean and hitting that.
More than halfway through their voyage.
Yeah. So they're like, good 75, 80% away through. And off the coast of Newfoundland, south of that little jut of Canada that you see there, where it says Titanic site is where it sunk. Where it sunk.
Do they have the site of the iceberg crash? It can't be too far away from that.
So that's where it is, right?
They basically stopped there. They didn't go any further because of the water that started to come into the side of the ship.
Yeah. So there's like 5 or 6, I forget what it's called. That was like blown open in the base, and it could only survive if 4 of them were blown. Like the air compartments that keep the ship floating. So 5 of them were destroyed and water flooded it, which caused it to inevitably sink, break in half. And then I think it was like 2:30 a.m., 3 o'clock on the 15th that it finally hit.
How many people were on that ship when it sank?
There were 2,000 people. 2,000 people. Okay.
And probably only like 30 survived?
Yeah, not very many.
No.
Well, actually, it was more like, actually, it was a good portion of people that survived, but about 1,500 people, they predict, died on that day. And a lot of them were men because of that rule, right? So women and children first.
Yep.
Take the
But the boats did not have enough room for even these women and children.
That's the rumor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so it was dramatized in good old Titanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, we're not showing a clip of that movie, people. Come on. But what I want to show is probably the Titanic sinking. I think let me look for it right now.
Sure. But so it's a crazy story, right? So this is one of the biggest disasters. It was the largest ship at the time that ever happened, to break into, what's the word? To sink. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so after it had crashed into the iceberg, supposedly. All right, so probably sending out distress signals right now with them fireworks.
Yeah,
and now you got the boats.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boats. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm counting the other side. 13.
And people, then they were lowered off at the top. Yeah.
I count 13 boats so far. Looks like we've. Okay. I'm only paying attention to the boats, but then you notice what else is happening around them.
And it was supposed to be unsinkable.
Yeah.
But that was the rumor. But clearly. On the maiden voyage, the first trip that it ever took, this happened.
Oh man. Wonder what time it sank. What time of night?
I think it was like 2
Mm-hmm.
2:30, 2:20, if I remember correctly.
And what's happening right here is it's oh, we got the smokestacks.
Yeah, the first one fell. Then eventually it dramatically breaks in half.
Wow, I recognize this almost exactly from the dramatization in the where's Jack and Rose?
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have that conversation.
I am fast forwarding a little bit. Sorry, people, but what happened there? Did that happen in the movie?
Yeah,
something blew up.
Yeah, in the engine room as it got filled.
Oh shoot! That did not happen in the movie.
That might have. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't remember.
Comment below if it actually did happen. Oh, they're showing a side shot. Okay, so the lights went off. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, so that's
snaps in half. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Wow. There you go.
And now everybody's probably flocking to the top of the ship.
Yeah, so what they said was that because they didn't have, a ton of those lifeboats, so they weren't really able to save a ton of people. So a lot of them were just, floating on luggage and swimming in the waters. They said it was approximately like 800 to 1,000 people that were just in the water. And there was actually one ship that came to rescue them, and they were only able to bring about 705 people onto the ship. So
by that point, I'm sure that they were too late to grab a lot of other people
in the frozen water, and who knows what could have happened. They drowned, and yeah, so they said like over 1,500 people died, and it was one of the biggest tragedies at the time. Yeah, and it obviously took the culture and the world by storm. The fact that this horrible thing happened. Yeah. So, but I wanted to talk about too. It's kind of interesting. So again, it's sister ship. So remember, it was made by this company that had a desire to make 3 Olympic class ships, so the biggest ships. So it's planning to make the biggest 3 ships in the world. 2 of them were used for military purposes. The second one, the Britannica, again. So the Titanic. I keep saying Britannica. It's not Britannica. It's the Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, the Britannic. Was supposed to be also unsinkable. Like, this is going to be an amazing warship, and it sunk. It sunk. The sister ship. Yeah, like during a fight or something, I forget, in World War One. There's like a repercussion from a missile. It wasn't struck by a missile, but Michelin Man. But like through the shock waves from a missile, it caused it to sink.
Oh man.
Crazy. But luckily, I think only 30 people died. I think the rest of them had enough time to evacuate. They learned the lesson from the Titanic that they brought enough, ships or boats on board, and everyone pretty much survived that. So yeah, so that happened in 1912.
What a guilty pleasure Titanic was.
Oh man, I've seen it a couple times, and I wasn't into it.
Why not?
I'm not really big on. I don't know. The ending is just so sad. I mean, I cried both times I watched it, and it was just so agonizing to have to like witness this tragedy. Yeah.
One time I watched a documentary. I was like 5 years old of Titanic. My parents were just watching. I was like, "Oh shoot, where's Jack and Rose?" They're like, they were made up, Joe, and I'm like, "What? No, they couldn't. They couldn't have been. They couldn't have been."
Yeah.
Because lo and behold, when it came out on cable, what happened? I watched the movie, and that infamous
scene.
Paint me like one of your French girls. You're watching a 5-year-old watching it. Greatest decision ever.
Oh, definitely. Nice.
What were the people that were watching it with me thinking?
Yeah, exactly. What about the end? What do you think? Do you think Jack could have fit with her on that? That's like the rumor, right? So that's the point of contention, is that people say, well, Jack could have definitely survived on that door that Rose was floating on at the end, instead of just dying and freezing in the water. People say that he could have fit.
I have to think about this for a moment because I think the general consensus is that he could have fit on there.
Mm-hmm.
But did Rose want him to?
Ooh, she didn't actually love him.
Nah. But what could she have wanted it for,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, very cool.
I don't know. I don't know. I think he could have fit on there.
I saw the Titanic when it was released in 3D. Do you remember this? It was like 2017, 2018. It was a 3D
for the 20th
version.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay.
A 3D version was released, and I watched it in theaters, and I did not. I was painful. I mean, it's a good movie. I'll give it props. I'm not doing good with my words today, but I'll give it props.
Happens
it's a good
to me.
movie. It's a good movie. But it's just not my type. I don't like to be sad after watching.
It's one of the highest grossing movies of all time, even
That's
now.
true. Well, James Cameron, right? He's got a knack for that. Jim the Avatar.
That movie came out in 97, right? And by that point in time, this is just me Tarantinoing. I know we're talking entertainment later, but it just warrants it because we're talking the movie.
Sure.
George Lucas is filming Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, at that point in time. And I watched the documentary of the making of Phantom Menace.
Wow.
Watch it. George Lucas and my George Lucas impersonation. I don't know if I'm going to beat Titanic. I don't know if I'm going to beat Titanic.
Nice. Confidence.
I don't know if I'm going to beat Titanic. Because Episode 1 also grossed up a lot too. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know if I'm going to beat Titanic.
All right, Joe, what about this last timeline? What do we got?
Arguably one of the most tragic. We're talking tragic again. Just how it goes. April 14th, 1865. Abraham Lincoln, U.S. president, is shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth.
Wow.
So this is at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Abraham Lincoln dies the very next day. So the way it goes, Abraham Lincoln,
who we found out last week is a woman.
Yeah, apparently we found him out as a woman. If you
Abraham Lincoln,
harken back to that episode, if I gotta find this, Oh my goodness.
Well, we can encourage them to go and watch the last episode.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it maybe on the Instagram video because
sure.
it's good enough that you can see it all on YouTube because that conversation is gold. Making this a happy moment. But anyway, Abraham Lincoln, Civil War has just reached its conclusion, and he's up at his second term, Abraham Lincoln.
Thank you.
Booth, John Wilkes Booth, who committed the act, he didn't act alone. He had other conspirators working with him, supposedly, but he escaped after shooting him in the head, escaped onto the stage, out the back door, and he was away for a while. He got away, but there was a doctor that happened to be there that was called over and carried Lincoln across the street to the Peterson House. And what the impact of this event, it was the first presidential assassination. But the thing is, Booth thought he was such a revolutionary. He thought that this would aid the South, which just surrendered their federal forces.
Yeah, which didn't work.
No, completely backfired.
What did he say again? He said he said sic temper semper tyrannis.
Sic semper tyrannis, something like that. I forget what that means. Do you want to look it up for me?
Sic semper tyrannis. It's like end of the emperor, or like, let me just look it up. I'll just Google it real fast. Real quick.
Yeah, he thought it would aid the South, which just surrendered federal forces. And there was this wanted poster that was out for him and eventually conspirators too. The conspirators were captured and Booth was shot attempting to escape Union soldiers.
Yeah, so it means thus always to tyrants, meaning that, like, suggesting that bad outcomes would eventually befall tyrants, which of course Abraham Lincoln was not a tyrant, but
no. And then following his death, which is a really interesting story because he was brought from DC to Springfield, Illinois by train. There was a 9-car funeral train carrying Lincoln to Springfield, and people stop by on the stops along the way to pay their respects.
Wow.
Really interesting. I've never
Yeah.
heard that before.
I haven't either. Yeah, I feel like it always ends like when he dies in the hospital the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I never really heard beyond that. I didn't know that he went back to Springfield. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So, Joe, have you ever heard of the similarities between Kennedy and Lincoln?
Briefly, but
Ever heard that? Like that's the stories. So I'm not a conspirator. I'm like borderline. Okay.
a wanted poster will go out to you, I'm sure. Just like
Believing in like conspiracy theories, but this was I thought this was kind of interesting at one point. The similarities between Kennedy and Lincoln. So I'm gonna share my screen again
do it.
because we're making some good topics here. Oh, where is it? Oh, that's not it. I can't see. Is it this one? Oh, here it is. All right. So these are true statements. Let's see. The list. This is the following are the list of coincidences.
The list.
The list that are commonly associated with a conspiracy. Okay, so the belief is that there's so many similarities between the two that people are like thinking, well, maybe there's something more to this. You know, since there's so many similarities. Okay. Let's look at the first bullet. Lincoln and Kennedy each have 7 letters.
Oh, it must be true then.
They both have 7 letters. I mean, come on. Who other? Well, like, there's no other names that have 7 letters besides Lincoln and Kennedy. All right. Both presidents were elected to Congress in 46 and later to the presidency in 60. 1846, 1860.
Is it trying to say that they were
1946.
both like Lincoln and Kennedy reincarnated or
There's a
something like
connection.
that?
There's a connection between the two. All right. Both married women in their 20s.
Oh,
while
just
themselves,
the decade of their 20s.
while themselves were in their 30s. Because why would a 30-year-old person who's in the 30s ever marry a 20-year-old in their 20s? It's unheard of.
Yeah.
All right. Both lost a son while living in the White House. So both of them did lose a son.
Oh, this is adding up. It must be true.
Yeah. Both were shot in the presence of their wives. The wife was presently with them while they were assassinated.
Murder.
Crazy. Both assassins. Both assassins. John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, which also have 3 names within their name.
Wow.
3 of their names, right? Where they were both born in 39 and were known by their 3 names, composed of 15 letters, the same amount of letters. Again, the letters thing.
Are we also saying that these two were reincarnated?
I don't know about that. Okay, Booth ran. Get this. This is crazy. Booth ran from the Ford's Theater and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from the Delhi Plaza warehouse and was caught in the theater. Okay. Both presidents were runners up for the party's nomination for vice president in 56. In a 56. This is a long list, much longer than I thought it was going to be. All right.
And I'm not getting confused at all.
Yeah, feel you. Both successors were Southern Democrats surnamed Johnson.
Andrew Johnson for after Lincoln.
And then Lyndon B. Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both were born in an 08, and their first names both contain 6 letters, Andrew and Lyndon, in 1808 and then in 1908. The assassins, so, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald were both Southerners. Like, what are the odds that they would be in the Southern America and Southern states?
Out of all the states that they could have been born in,
they were from the South. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights and made their views strongly known in 63. Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 62, which became a law a year later. A century later, Kennedy presented his reports to Congress on civil rights during the famous March in Washington for Jobs and Freedom that same year. Crazy. Both presidents were shot in the head on a Friday and died at a nearby location. Okay. Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater. Kennedy was shot in a Ford car, a Lincoln limousine. Any thoughts yet? Or have I lost you completely?
No, I'm right here with you.
Lincoln had a secretary. Okay, Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who told him not to go to the theater, while Kennedy had a secretary named Evelyn Lincoln, and she warned him not to go to Dallas.
Both Oswald and Booth were assassinated before they could be put on trial.
Yeah, and both Oswald and Booth were assassinated before they could be put on trial.
Who would have thought that the two guys who killed presidents would be wanted and also threatened?
All right, so that's the whole list, right? So this all the claims of all the similarities between the two, which I think
Who would have thunk?
But it says some of which are not true statements, so some of these are false.
Okay.
And then these are the descriptions
Coming from
of true and
Wikipedia.
false. Yeah, exactly. So somebody, a conspiracy theorist, made this list. But I like it. But you can just kind of see there's a lot of like little things in here. Now, I don't know what this is supposed to mean or like what they're claiming here, but it's just interesting that there's so many similarities between the two.
Huh. Wow. Are we
Anyways.
convinced? Are we convinced yet?
I am convinced. This was a setup.
It has to be.
Entertainment. Where's the entertainment, guys?
Joe and Josh enter in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
That's
And
what the world wants to see.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm excited. You know, this movie's coming out soon. This week, right?
April 16th, something like that,
Which
or
is
the 24th.
Friday.
Yeah, is it?
Friday
On HBO Max.
Wow, are you gonna watch it, Joe?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah,
I'm kind of lukewarm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that crazy interested, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, good
I'm
effects.
just excited that there might be a good video game movie because I feel like most video game movies are complete garbage.
Well,
except the original Mortal Kombat.
The original Mortal Kombat.
1995.
August 18th, 1995.
So I was
summer blockbuster.
Mm.
Does August count as like a summer blockbuster? Because I feel like summer blockbusters around like the July 4th time.
I guess so, because it's technically in the summer.
Okay, but it's like late summer. I feel like because kids are going back to school, then it's a weird time for it. I wonder what else came out in 1995 because if it conflicted, because apparently, I just found this out. Now that I'm thinking about it, 1995, August 18th, this went to number one. The 95 Mortal Kombat movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the video games came out in like 1992, Mortal Kombat 1. I don't know when number 2 came out, but
people were excited about them.
Yeah.
Definitely. I see that. And of course the controversy from that video game completely changed like rating systems. Yeah.
Did that come out with rated M after the
Well, they did that. Because it went to trial, right? Because everyone was appalled at the fact that there was blood in a video game
and breaking out people's spines and
and
stuff,
gore and violence and killing and whatever. Yeah. This is the first time that this is was ever pretty much shown, I think, in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Which then triggered them to make a rating system for video games. The ESRB ratings was formed because of this.
It's only natural that it would come to make this type of violent video game because you have your Dig Dug, you've got your Qbert, you've got your Frogger, and then with all those 8-bit pixelated games, and then
Pac-Mans and all this stuff that it's just kind of for fun that kids would enjoy, and when they would go to the arcade and play these games, and then all of a sudden you go to this arcade and you see people getting their spines ripped out and their heads chopped off and like blood was spewing everywhere. So I think that it was just shocked people at first. I think
the first
especially
time
like older people,
who probably protested this. Wouldn't be teenagers, wouldn't be kids.
Yeah, they wouldn't care.
It would be older folks.
They said like, look at this, look at how disgusting this is. Why is this allowed? This is gonna cause my children to go crazy.
First time I played Mortal Kombat, it was in like a hotel, like what was it? Like a stairwell of a hotel.
And
I
it
don't know
was
why.
like
It wasn't
was
an
it
arcade. It was
machine?
like,
It was
yeah, it was an arcade machine
Mm.
in like a hotel stairwell, the bottom of it.
Wow.
And my dad and I were just walking like, Mortal Kombat. Joe, have you played Mortal Kombat? I was like 7 years old.
Nice. That was your
Um,
first experience, huh?
that was my first
Mine,
experience.
I don't remember mine. I think I had the PlayStation 2 one, the Mortal
Mhm.
Kombat Armageddon that we played, but that was nothing like the original ones.
Mhm.
I don't think
Watered
I ever
down.
really played the original Mortal Kombat before. I've seen people play
They
them and
have to
talk
have it.
about them.
They have to
and-
have it online.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Maybe we can put as a extra scoop on. We could try to find it online.
There you go. There you go. Not a bad idea. But yeah. So the movie,
You're talking about the 95 one. We don't have much detail on the 2021 version.
It's true.
I'm sure
We just
it'll
have that trailer, right?
Yeah, we have a little bit. We have some characters that are going to take place. Like for example, this is something that makes me not too excited about this. If it eventually is successful, they'll probably add this character in. They don't have Johnny Cage.
They don't.
Yeah, they have like
I didn't notice.
they have another guy that looks like Johnny Cage. And they call him like Cole Young or something like that.
Oh, I see. Now, was that? You think that's going to be Johnny Cage, or do you think that's going to be like
It could be a surprise. So
character?
I'll still watch it. You have like your awesome characters like Shang Tsung and Raiden
your
and
Sub-Zero
Sonya and Scorpion.
Scorpion. Yep. You're the classic cast.
So you don't really have a lot of good video game movies.
You really don't.
The ones that came out before this were Street Fighter. Before
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
They were actually going to have Jean-Claude Van Damme as Johnny Cage in this 95 version.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So did he decline it because he was doing Street Fighter?
Yep. And look how that turned out.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
And then who else was going to be Johnny Cage? We'll get to that.
Yeah.
What other video game movies came out? The Super Mario Bros.
That's right. Oh my gosh. That was so bad.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And then later on, you have Assassin's Creed,
which bombed. Yeah.
You have all the Resident Evil movies.
Right. Well, I heard those were like borderline. That those were like some people thought they were decent. But that who was the lady who did that? Mila
Jovovich. Oh my gosh.
Mila
Jovovich. Yeah, something about her. My favorite movie ever from Mila Jovovich is The Fifth Element with
I was going to say
Bruce
that.
Willis.
She was the one in Fifth Element.
So campy, but it's like my favorite movie from her.
I liked it though. You know, it is definitely campy, but yeah, it's classic. One of those classics that like it was always on TV. You know, so you would always watch it when it was on TV.
Yeah.
And then what's Chris Tucker, right?
Oh,
he was in it.
Ruby Rod. Come in, my man.
Come on, my man.
I got no fire. You got any matches, Father? You smoke. His scream at the very end of when Bruce Willis is attempting to destroy the balcony. Oh my gosh, please watch The Fifth Element.
Oh my gosh, the scream is so good. Love it.
We're gonna talk Resident Evil because there is some connection to that with those movies. Don't let me forget, please.
I won't.
Okay, so a little bit of facts, and we're gonna look at this article from first off the 95 movie. So interesting thing about this. All right, let's go into it. Okay. Oh man, you are not gonna believe what you are gonna see right now, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, you see this?
5 things that age like fine wine, and 5 things that age
terribly. Okay, so this is Mortal Kombat 1995. If anybody recognizes any of these actors, you can probably at least recognize one. When my father first showed me this movie, like in 1999, whatever, a couple years after this movie came out, I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm curious. Let's see.
It's the grandfather from Johnny Tsunami.
What? That's right.
Yep.
Wow, I never made that connection.
Grandfather Capahala.
Wow. How about that? That's
crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah.
He is the villain, people. Please watch this. It might be on Netflix. We watched it on Netflix, Josh, right?
We did.
When we first were living together. We watched
Mm.
this movie just because it was like a snow day or something like that. We were all snowed in, and we
That's right.
watched this
We
movie.
watched it. That's right. It was a snow day, and I didn't have to go to work.
Nope, none of us did.
That's
and it
what
was
happened.
and it was graceful.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful time.
Ah, speaking of which, okay,
Here
so
we
you
go.
got Shang Tsung, you got Liu Kang, the chosen one. They always say the chosen one for
The chosen one, yeah.
for any movie. Anakin Skywalker. You have Sub-Zero. Okay,
Mhm.
movies based on video games have become infamous for their hit or miss reception. Mostly miss. Either
Mostly
they are
miss, yeah.
utter disaster as both film and adaptation, a la Blood Rain or Resident Evil. All right, don't let me forget. It's a sign. Or they are surprise gems like Sonic the Hedgehog. Very good movie.
I didn't watch that.
It's not
Was it
bad. Not
not
bad.
bad? That's the one with Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah, not bad. They're gonna do a sequel, or at least they set up for one.
Okay.
Or the most famous example, 1995, Mortal Kombat.
Boop, 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 boop.
Dub it in. 25
yeah.
years later. So at this point, it's like 26 years later. Just about. All right, classic. The fight choreography remains top notch.
Mm, okay.
The way that
Alright.
they film it, some of it
I
hasn't
don't
aged
know.
well.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of these people were professional fighters. Johnny Cage, Liu Kang,
Mhm.
yeah, professional fighters. Sonya Blade, not really. Watch it. You'll see.
She's pretty dope though.
She was in Billy Madison. You'll recognize her.
She was in, what was the one? Oh man, where she was also like a BA.
Good
She's a
old
tough fighter.
Veronica Vaughn.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I would have to say that this is very much true for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
Especially when fighting, CGI, not CGI, practical effects, robot characters, robotic. All right, dated. The CGI and digital effects look like cartoons.
Yeah, that reptile was so bad.
Boy.
That was really bad.
And this is very much true with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. They came out with a sequel 2 years later.
That's right.
When everyone was recast, except for like Liu Kang and
I think
Princess Katana.
was Raiden the same?
He was recast.
Oh, he was recast.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into Raiden because I love Raiden. I will not change that casting for any reason at all.
Right.
Classic. The movie is still eye candy. Now, what do they mean by that? Just the way it looks?
It looks appealing, the looks are good.
Every location in this movie looks amazing and shows that Paul W.S. Anderson, oh yeah, the director. Don't let me forget about this Resident Evil.
He did it?
Yep. He was also the director of Resident Evil movies, which, by the way, oh my gosh. So this guy came out with this awesome video game movie. I might as well just show this right now because he directed, I think, every single Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich.
Okay.
And I'm not a big fan of Resident Evil movies, but this is from the 2012 version. And we owe the chance to watch this. I muted it just for this purpose. And we're going to watch this action scene at the very end, I think, the end of the movie.
Okay.
Oh, man. All right, let's do this, Josh.
So this is Afterlife, Chris, Claire, and Alice versus Wesker, which is the main villain.
Oh, is she going to kick the glass?
Oh, she kicked the glass. So glass was falling from the ceiling, and then
and what's it gonna?
Oh, and then slices the zombie dog. Is this the same Anderson that made There Will Be Blood, or is that a different one? Who directed that movie?
I think that might be Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas and P.T. Anderson. Because there's a couple of Andersons that are directors, and I couldn't remember which one was which.
Huh.
Yeah, I doubt that was this one because he's actually like a really good director.
Nerfed violence and no fatalities.
That's right, because they had to keep it a PG-13 rating, right?
Exactly. Okay, so people still died, but you didn't have taking out people's spines, and you
couldn't see it though. You couldn't see like the actual like death action. The games marked made their mark in history for their violence and fatalities that gave birth to the rating system, like we were talking about before. Yeah, the 95 movie does have some fun kills, like Liu Kang and Shang Tsung. Mm-hmm. Okay, the soundtrack is pure perfection. Oh, so good. This was my soundtrack for any gym class. Yes. Whenever I do anything that's like physical, I play the song. If you know, you know. It's played at clubs and parties all over the world. Really? Really? Probably not nowadays. But
No, back then maybe. All right, dated. Goro is straight up goofy
oh
these days.
man,
All right, so
awful. Yeah.
practical effects, they use CGI sparingly, and I will give it merit a lot of merit.
Yeah, it's great that it's real. You know, it's cool like the animatronic, but man, does it not look good.
and it scared people when it first came out, I'm sure. And he had a good introduction, killer theme song, and a great fight with Johnny Cage. He punched him right in the
Yeah.
right in the buttons,
cojones.
right in the buttons.
The family jewels.
But his movements are pretty awkward. So yeah, I will agree with that. All right. Top 4. Classic. Elements of the movie became mainstays in the games. So we're looking at a picture of Kano right here. Okay. By 95, Mortal Kombat games did have an extensive story that did not have it. Okay, sorry, that they do now. So the movie did as much as they could with what little they had. I'm sure that's what led to its success, because they didn't have to bank off of any other story from a previous.
True. Yeah, they didn't have to follow the format.
So Kano was completely different as a character. Yeah, he had an Australian accent in the movie. Kano has been depicted in the same vein as Trevor Goddard's performance. Shang Tsung's iconic "Your soul is mine" was brought forth in later iterations. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny Capahola's grandfather. All right, dated. A great ending that could have led to something greater. Oh, here we go with the sequel.
Oh, yeah.
All right. While this is less of a flaw with the movie, but rather a result of the abomination that was Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation.
So bad.
Did you ever watch it?
We watched like the first 20 minutes, and
you and I did, right? You and I did, right?
Together. Okay. Yeah.
It sets up a sequel perfectly. It's very quick, rather. The tournament has been won by Earthrealm, and then Emperor Shao Kahn shows up. Your souls are mine, and then it cuts to credits.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that. Classic, a dedicated and outstanding cast.
That's true.
Yes.
Very
Shang Tsung. You've got Raiden by Highlander's Christopher Lambert. They were going to put Sean Connery in there. They were Sean Connery.
Could you imagine Sean Connery as Raiden?
No. Maybe. You have Liu Kang. You've got Sonya Blade, Veronica Vaughn. And then here we go with Johnny Cage. I think this is great casting. Honestly, they were going to put Jean-Claude Van Damme. They were, because I would actually consider this guy right here knockoff Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tom Cruise was actually in the running too.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. But he was what was he filming? Like The Firm or something like that? Some movie.
Yeah. Well, that was, when did that come out? Yeah.
93.
It's the same. Okay.
He did some other movie. But I don't know. But I think this is really great casting. So yeah, Raiden, best version. There's nothing like it.
The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
The fate of billions will depend upon you.
Sorry. We're gonna put that in as like a staple for this podcast. I'm sure we can take like the audio, like that laugh, the fate of billions.
Yeah. We'll take it. We'll dub it for the scene anyway. So yeah.
Oh man.
Beautiful. I love it.
All right. And last but not least, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are completely wasted characters.
They are. That's true. That's
I
like
would
the one
say
flaw.
this rings a little bit true. Yeah, we never had a fight between these two characters like we will in the next one. But I did like the Scorpion and Johnny Cage fight.
That was pretty good. That was good. I will admit that.
And isn't it like in this movie, there's like a reptile that like spews out of Scorpion's palm.
Right, because I thought it's supposed to be a chain, right?
It's supposed to be a chain, but right. I guess like they
this
took
is like a biting thing. They had some liberties there.
Yeah, even if one were to ignore the whitewashing cast, it says in the article, this was still a very poor treatment of characters. So instead of Scorpion hunting Sub-Zero for the framed murder of his family and clan, while Sub-Zero fights for Earthrealm, both are just silent villains who act as glorified thugs for Shang Tsung.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess.
I see that.
Huh.
Because it's supposed to be like, rivals that are you know, that butt heads, and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Kind of the characters don't really shine through.
Huh.
That's right.
Interesting.
And so they were pretty underutilized.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good casting. I would have to say that we're probably in the good clear right here. Look at,
Yeah.
I don't know, you can't do any better than that. They
That's
also
true.
put Reptile in there.
Yeah, that's right.
He was originally this.
That the awful CGI thing.
Yeah,
Where is it?
Where is he?
Yeah. That was so bad. But then became the human form that they fought.
Yeah.
And went back to
they broke a lot of ribs and a lot of bones. Veronica Vaughn's like shoulder, they had to like put it back, yeah. So they just like toughed it out, all those actors, because they could have easily shut down set. But you know, take a look at the Reptile fight when Reptile like kicks Liu Kang into the wall, or right into like some stone or something like that. He like hurt his ribs or something like that, like fractured a rib or something like that, and he just kept going.
Dedication,
Crazy.
man.
Yeah.
It's good
Oh
stuff.
my goodness. I don't know. It's a guilty pleasure, that movie. And even in a sense, Annihilation, when all those actors are recast, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. Not so much. It's just bad acting, bad across the board.
I always heard that the Mortal Kombat movies were terrible, but then when we watched the first one, I was like, this is pretty good actually. Like I kind of like it, you know? I really liked the first one, and then the second one is no bueno.
Yeah, and they killed my man Johnny Cage. All of those actors probably decided not to come into the next movie because of how bad the script was.
Yeah, knowing how bad it was going to be. Yeah, that's why they probably recast and everything.
But there's so many memeable moments on each of them. For example, like, you know, when we watch that Honest trailer with what is it? Every single fight, it seems like Shang Tsung, Johnny Cabal is the actor. He is always filmed standing up.
Yeah. Like he sits down and then he stands up during the scene.
Let me find it. Shang Tsung standing up. That took multiple takes. The apple.
The apple throw. There it is. I love that apple throw. He just like yeets it like.
Oh man. Your soul is mine.
Your soul is mine. You
will be next. Lou!
Yeah. Oh man, good.
Please
stuff.
watch the movie. It's not going to be an in-joke anymore.
Yeah. Watch the movie. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Or both.
Both. Yeah.
Or even if you watch the compilation of Mortal Kombat 2, of just like how bad it is, because I'm sure they've got a compilation.
Yeah.
That's enough.
That's enough. Yeah, totally. Check it out. It's good stuff. Okay, I think that was in entertainment. Just two bros, you know, reminiscing over the golden era.
We're in the golden times right now.
That's right. It's beautiful. It's good stuff. All right, Joe. So yeah. Everybody, listeners, leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Leave some questions. We want to get some questions going here. We want that segment going. So if you like this, anything, pause the video. Leave some questions. Why am I sitting in the closet? That's a good question. It's a great question to ask. Or why is Joe so amazingly handsome? Just put it down. Put it down. And then we'll answer these questions in the next episode. And subscribe. Hit that bell button.
I can't make a thumbnail for the handsome one, man. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Well, I'll do it. It'll be like your head on Thor's body.
On the fat body, right?
Oh, the fat one, yeah, the fat one.
I am new master 6'9".
You're the one. You are the one.
It's confirmed. Chris Hemsworth, I'm a new master.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Make sure that you guys subscribe, like, comment on this video. Any questions that you have, we will be sure to answer this, and more to come. We're going to make sure that we put up guests too. It's not just going to be us anymore. We're going to be launching guests. So more on that to come. We're really excited to be dishing that out for you guys. Basically, any type of job, a person that has like a various job, we're going to make sure that we get their perspective, whether it be from social workers to graphic designers. We're going to make sure that we get them into the conversations too, because it's not just going to be us anymore. Although we'll be your main candidates, we're just going to make sure also that we get other people into the mix, and it's going to be a really good time, and we're excited to dish and to share that with you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
All right, so subscribe, like the channel, and we're going to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Alrighty, peace out, y'all.